Writing tracks for Steve Swift reviews. He punched me twice in the face and asked for a duel. The pugilistic prophet with newbies diagnostics, like Scroobius Pip but less toxic. The UK comic shooting stars never lost it. It's 2025 and the internet still dies. Guys are chasing algorithms like a crack pipe high. Everybody
you know, that is one hell of a comb you got there, Steve Swift. This is the bees of boxing. Steve Swift is in the middle of grooming that fantastic face coif that he has. I don't know of any other thing to call it other than that, but it is absolutely stupendous. I wouldn't have it any other way. We're here to talk about what is probably the greatest weekend in all of boxing this past weekend. And I'll even go so far, Steve, as to say historically the best weekend in boxing ever. Steve Swift, how you doing today, brother?
Very well, thank you. Face coif, beautiful. Thank you very much. Yeah, I had it done yesterday, so it needs grooming.
Yes, you
it's
did.
very
We
nice.
spoke about that. We spoke about that. How you were out getting your glow on, so to speak. Right?
It was done yesterday. Oh yes, an hour it takes. An hour of pampering. We can do that sort of thing in Britain because we have trade unions, so we're allowed to have weekends.
I feel like there was some undertones of business going on in that statement right there. And that's what we talk about here. We talk about bees. We talk about business of boxing. We talk about boxing of boxing. This past weekend, it started off a little slow, in my opinion, because I don't know about you, but where I am, well, you didn't have to because you're in England, and this was perfect for you. So many early fights. It starts off with great fights from Japan. What did you think of the card in general? And then I'll ask you very quickly about what you thought of the main event.
I haven't seen the card yet.
Okay.
Because there was loads of stuff to do. And I watched the main event 3 times because I thought it was a draw. And I still think it's a draw. That's why I watched it. I just thought maybe I'm just being a bit biased. But what a fight, Tidster.
You know, I thought that the first 5 rounds were exactly what we thought they were going to be, of both of them just trying to figure each other out throughout those first 5 rounds. And then it opened up. I thought that Junto Nakatani did a fantastic job against Inoue, used his distance very well. I think that, and here's where I have a problem with boxing after this fight, because that fight was such a competitive fight, because I thought that fight was a draw, but it wasn't. And we know why it wasn't. There was an inadvertent headbutt that happened. And I think like a lot of others, this had a bearing on the fight. What do you think?
Yeah, this is animal spirits, isn't it? You know, and people were talking in the commentary about, well, Inoue knows what he's doing, and he steps on the gas at the end of rounds, and that's what the judges like to see. Now, I thought, 15-13, I can cope with that. I can live with that. 16-12, I can't live with any of that. Somebody said in comments I saw that they thought that Nakatani was robotic. I thought he was focused and stuck to the game plan, which was to get in there and to constantly be at in a way, and to take him off his rhythm. And also, I thought he was just really poised. I thought he was really wound, and it was again a fantastic fight. And one of the reasons why I say to myself, that's why you're a boxing fan, Swifty.
Yeah, it really was. It was a great way to start off. I thought that whoever the judge was, come to find out, the judge that did score that 16-12, the problem was he showed up earlier with other 2 blind mice, and before he took his job, sitting at the table there, because that had to be. I haven't seen judging that bad since Cecil Peoples was a judge in MMA, and that's some pretty bad stuff right there. I don't understand how you even imagine, like, did he leave for 4 rounds or 3 rounds and just come back and be like, I'm just going to give him to Inoue? It looks like he should have won those.
I haven't seen judging that bad since the Salem witch trials.
Wow. Well, I wasn't around for them.
No, I was, and obviously I was writing the reports for the local Salem News at the time. But it's lent into what you just said, with Inoue saying, "I'm relieved that I won that." I mean, he said Nakatani's a great fighter, and I'm relieved because of that, because it's close. But he also said he was relieved that he won. And that is a gracious fighter, but it also leans into, you know what? Could have gone either way, that. And isn't that a brilliant? Because Nakatani was the underdog, really, we thought. But there's quite a lot of, well, we want to see some thrills and spills, which would be, in a way, being knocked on his arse, wouldn't it, I suppose? But I'm so pleased that didn't happen, because they stayed on their feet, they sucked up punches, and they had a fantastic back and forth fight, tactical as well.
Here's the way that I looked at this entire weekend, Steve, and this was a perfect opener, because I look at this like the whole weekend for me for boxing was built like a professional wrestling show, where you started off in a way, you started off nice and hot, but then from there, it only got better throughout the day, building towards that main event of the entire day that was David Benavidez and Zerto Ramirez. But before we get to that, so we switch out of, in a way, we leave Japan and we head over to England for probably one of the greatest tilts I've seen in British boxing history, let alone boxing history, in quite some time. Tell us what you thought about this fight between, well, yeah.
Conor Walker
Yes.
versus Sam Eggington. As somebody said, Walker cracks Eggington. Oh, somebody must have really thought for a long time for that fucking headline. But I mean, yeah, Conor Walker really looked up to Sam Eggington. So you've got all this
Literally.
going on.
Oh.
Yeah, yes, literally. He's a smaller fighter, a stockier fighter, and there was real mutual respect. Beautiful to see. It's an Eddie. I mean, Conor Walker is an Eddie Hearn promoted fighter. More of that in a minute, because there's a bit of business of boxing coming. But in Wolverhampton, wasn't it? And, you know, crowd not massive, but absolutely febrile. I mean, the whole time, boos, cheers, all of that. It was a pantomime thing going on. The fight itself was, I mean, not only was there give and take, you know, and real, I'm gonna just walk through these huge punches. But I thought that Conor Walker thought, I think you're a bit flabby around the midriff here. I'm going to work this body, and that will set. And this is something people don't do. So it was tactical, it was technical, but people don't think, well, if I keep working the body, at some point it will sap that strength, and I'll get a good headshot in. And he did. It was the 8th, was it? Something like that. And stopped him. I mean, really. I mean, both of their faces were messed up, particularly Sam Eggington. And that's just absolutely big punches. I mean, fast, big punches. And as I say, from Conor Walker, real tactics that he stuck to.
And, you know, if we don't see any more from Eggington, it's been a hell of a run. He talked about it afterwards. He talked about he doesn't know where he's going to go from here. Right.
Yeah.
And I personally, that is one hell of a note. If he does walk away, that's one hell of a note to leave on. No shame. And, you know, all the best to you, brother.
And you talk about Mexican fighters being tough,
Right.
and rightly so, but we've got a hell of a lot of those in the UK. You know, Eggington being one, Josh Warrington, people like that, you know, really tough fighters that, you know, are reaching the end of their careers, but that's because of the way they fought. No quarter given ever. No, always going out on their shield, to use that phrase, and always showing up and showing out. What a great fight. But not just big bombs. There was a lot of that stuff, but real technical wizardry. And it was great to see. If you weren't a boxing fan and you thought, how do they win fights? Watch that one, because Conor Walker just thought, I'm going to work the body. I've been told to do it by my team. I'm just going to work it for 2 or 3 rounds constantly. No headhunting, just the body. And by the 8th, you'll be fit to go. Now I can see there's a headshot. You've come down to my level in size. Boom, done.
And then we move on to the main card for the night, which if there's, see, this is what I say. And I think that Cinco de Mayo weekend for Mexican boxing historically has been fantastic. And it's always been headlined, well, not always, but usually headlined by Canelo Alvarez. And this is one of the first times in a long time that I can remember that it wasn't headlined by Canelo Alvarez, but who was in attendance, who stayed much more awake than Terrence Crawford did sitting there at the Inoue fight. All I kept begging was like, get the camera off him, bro. Like, he's clearly tired. He's trying to have a little napski here, and you keep showing the dude. Like, don't be an asshat. But
he is retired, so he's probably mowed the grass yesterday and then just got on a flight and got over there.
Now, then we had Canelo sitting at the crowd, obviously with, vested interest. And we start off with Jose Sanchez, Jorge Chavez. This fight set a tone for, you wanted, as much as I've said this before, these were the types of fights that I wanted to bring back 15 rounds because it seems like 10 isn't enough, 8 isn't enough, 12 isn't enough. 15 is what we need to see with these guys. And if that wasn't enough, then you followed it up with Oscar Duarte and Angel Fierro. Now, a lot of people thought Angel Fierro coming into this thing, he came in overweight. He's got a bad, a bad disposition going into it. His last fight, they talked about how he kicked his opponent. Like they really made him to be a bad guy, but he took it to Duarte. And this was another fight where when you looked at this, you were like, this is just another 10 rounds of the fight we just saw. This was great. Right? What did you think up to this point so far?
Oh, just fun. I mean, sometimes you just hit gold, don't you? And you can never tell because you're looking forward to a fight, and and the main event. I was looking forward to that immensely. And sometimes you just think, for some reason, the atmosphere's right, everything goes right. People show up and want to be there, and tough and really tight fights, just great, wonderful to see. And again, as you say, a weekend that just, when people are saying boxing, that's horrible, or look at all the money and look at all the nasty lawsuits and all that, you can point to these fights and say it's that. When they call it the sweet science, that is what it is.
Well, and then you followed it up. This is why Canelo was there, to see his former competitor, right, in Jaime Munguia, who looked absolutely fantastic. This is probably the best I've seen Munguia look in as long as I can remember. And he showed up, he showed out, he got a fantastic win out of that one, which, at this point, Steve, I'm drained. I'm tired because here in North America, I've been up all day long. Because you got to remember those fights in Japan started at like 3:30 in the morning. Walkouts for the main event didn't happen until 8:30 in the morning. I had been up this entire time, then stayed awake all day long to watch more boxing, then watched the UFC fights later on because I had time in between because those were in Australia and those were at 7 in the morning as well. Then this main event where the main event the walkouts weren't until after midnight. I was a tired boy, Steve, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter because as soon as that music hit, you felt that energy of what was Cinco de Mayo and what this wrestling event was and who the two guys were coming out. And leading up to this, could Benavidez be the monster? And here's the thing, Steve. I don't know if you noticed this or not. This entire event bookend by monsters.
Yeah. And let me just say about Jaime Munguia, I disregarded Jaime Munguia. I completely disregarded him. I thought, shot fighter, done. And he's reinvented himself.
Yeah.
And the best way to do it, not by calling people out and doing social media, but getting in that ring and actually putting the work in. Beautiful work. Fast hands, but not as fast as David Benavidez's hands.
Here's the thing about the whole day. Everybody's talking about David Benavidez's hands being so fast and stuff like that. Yeah, you can be really fast when the guy's got his guard up and you're just pitter-pattering him upside the head. You're not pulling back. These aren't big loaded shots or anything like that. He's not firing off, but hugely effective because it sets up for exactly what it did. Because you're not, most boxers think one shot. Most boxers might think a 2-punch or a 3-punch combination. Nobody's thinking 5, 6, 7, because eventually that one comes down, boom. And that's where Benavidez catches these guys every single time. It was a fantastic outing by him, and not any shame in Zurdo. We thought, because this really shows me, because if I'm not mistaken, Steve, Did Ramirez go the distance with Bivol? I believe
so. Yeah,
with no
knockdowns,
no nothing. So what does that tell you about a guy like David Benavidez, who's coming up in weight and doing this to who is probably arguably the largest fighter in Ramirez in that weight class? And David Benavidez did that to him. What the fuck?
I thought it was perfect for Benavidez because he did so many things. Because, as you say, Ramirez, it wasn't just that he's some kind of piece of meat in the ring. It's not about that. It's not just, you're just there to be hit. He came back with some tough shots. Benavidez walked through those, which must have broken his heart. Benavidez got close and said, trade with you, mother, if you really want. I'm here to trade. Now, Ramirez didn't trade very much, but Benavidez presented himself in the pocket and said, go on. I mean, he boxed it. His movement was great. Fast hands, as I say, you're quite right, but fast hands, which the judges like. He boxed at length because he's got the long levers. I mean, he showed himself the best he's ever been because he gave it all to us. If it was a firefight, he would have been up for that. And he basically said, I think it was almost if he was checking off a checklist. Okay, at range, good movement, walk through punches, actually get in the pocket and trade with you. All these things I can do. Canelo, where you going, mate? Where you going? You're leaving in brown trousers. I can see your brown trousers leaving the arena.
He'd never fight him. But what this does do is this now makes David Benavidez a cruiserweight champion, correct?
It does.
You know where I'm going with this, aren't
I do.
Yes, because we are about to step into what could be, if these guys get their shit together, and by guys, I mean promoters. If they get their shit together, we could be entering into the next phase of what could be the greatest era of cruiserweight boxing since Alexander Usyk took over cruiserweight boxing, because you've got David Benavidez now, who is a champion. You've got Jai Opetaia. You've got Chris Billum-Smith and Ryan Rozicki, who are fighting to probably see who's going to fight Jai Opetaia. You take any of those 4 guys, you put them into any kind of tournament with a couple of other cruiserweights that are in there. I'm telling you, this is a revision of the Super 8 all over again, as far as I'm concerned. This is great. Cruiserweight boxing is going to be so good.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous thought. Titster, it's a gorgeous thought, but it won't happen.
No.
Not right now. Because, Jai Opetaia, and I've had a load of brickbats from viewers of my podcast who said, why are you ragging on Jai Opetaia? I wasn't. I was saying that Jai Opetaia called out the winner of the Benavidez and Zurdo Ramirez fight. He's done this before, calling people out. He's not calling them out. He's calling out Dana White. He's calling out Zuffa Boxing. He's saying, get your shit together, get weaving, get talking to those sanctioning bodies. Get talking to them, and they won't do it.
Yeah.
Or they won't do it yet because there's too much bad blood. And that's Dana White's fault. I think that's Dana White's fault. So, he ran himself off at the mouth, all of that. And, I'm not going as far as Austin De La Hoya on his clapback. I'm not doing that. Who's made some extraordinary comments this week. Go and have a look at that, folks. I mean, really. But I think it was a lot of that to begin with. They've been doing this thing for 100 years. We're not working with them. And you're going to have to work with them now. Mm-hmm. So, to keep Jai, to keep Conor, you got to do it. And they're your 2 mainstays.
Well, let's see who comes to the table first. Steve, always an absolute pleasure. I can't tell you how excited I am, because we've just started in the month of May, and there is a lot more fights coming up. I mean, it is going to be fantastic. Not only that, we're back doing live audio wrestling live. I mean, what more could you ask for? All of the great things happening to all of you. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, hitting all of the buttons that you're supposed to. Tell your friends, tell your family. I'm sure that they will not hold it against you for too long because you listen to this. But thank you so much nonetheless. Steve, always an absolute pleasure. Till next time, you know.
Come to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
You thought you thought for a second you were getting away with it, right?
I thought you were just winding it up.
Yeah. No,
rather than winding me up.
Not so much, brother. See you next week.
I only write tracks for Steve Swift reviews. He punched me twice in the face and asked for a duel. The pugilistic prophet with newbies diagnostics, like Scroobius Pip but less toxic. The UK comet shooting stars never lost it. It's 2025 and the internet still dies. Guys are chasing algorithms like a crack pipe high.